Hello everyone, Kim McIntyre here at Moai, and we're going to talk about these abilities, psychic abilities, empathic abilities, healing abilities, whatever we want to call them, Reiki, energy, Qigong. They come with a lot of names, don't they? Whatever makes you comfortable. It's the intangible stuff, right? I mean, we can feel energy flow, but sometimes we can't feel energy flow. A lot of times we cut these things off. The intangible feeling of emotions, right? We can see the emotions on our face a lot of times, but a lot of times we don't know what that's producing outside of us. The intangible, wind. We can feel wind, but what is actually going on? Angels, atoms. We have proof that they're there, but how deep do they go? The intangibles. Unable to be touched or grasped. You ever touched a brain? We're told it's in there. We have pictures. We have an idea of what's going on, but so it's kind of what we're touching in on today. So I was asked on one of my videos where my abilities come from, and we'll start at the beginning. I believe I was giving these abilities when I was born, conceived, when the idea was put forth that I come here. But I also believe that everyone has these abilities, some more so than others. I believe a lot of it has to do with the work that you put into healing of your own self allows these abilities to progress even farther. Now that might not be true. That's only true in my perspective of my life and my journey getting to where I am today. But I also believe that when we do have these abilities and we don't know what's going on, it can be very difficult for us. If you're someone like me who's feeling everything around you constantly and don't know what's going on, it can be very overwhelming. You'll have a tendency to shut off. If you're a person who sees spirits or ghosts or whatever, and you don't have the support or knowledge or understanding that these things aren't necessarily there to hurt you, they're just hanging around, that can make you want to shut these abilities off for survival, right? I mean, fear makes us do things in order to survive. And a lot of fear comes from not understanding, not knowing, not accepting. When we have these abilities, if we can't shut them off, we'll find other things to do, like jumping off of a cliff with a snowboard attached to your feet multiple times while drunk or other things. Partying, drugs, alcohol. Excuse me. Things are moving. Since the cough came up, is this my stuff? Is this somebody who may watch in the future? Somebody who may be watching now? I haven't had a cough all morning and all of a sudden I'm coughing. So, makes you wonder, right? So, one of the abilities that I had as a child was catching lizards, and the lizard would run all over my body and not leave. I could keep it on my body. It was really cool. And I noticed, we'll back up a little bit. I ended up in massage school on a whim. Never had a massage my entire life. thought massage was about making people feel pretty, rubbing oil on their bodies, and very grateful to have ended up in massage school. It was kind of a fluke thing. I was in Arizona and had a job lined up. I think I've said this before, and the guy who was going to hire me said, "You know what? Go find something else to do. It's too damn hot here in Arizona," which it is. If you've ever been there, can't imagine doing construction in 115, 100 degree weather. So dialed up massage school and started massage therapy school 3 months later. And I had no idea what I was getting into. All I know is that my transition through massage school was very powerful for me. Did it heal me? No. We didn't touch in on the psychic and empathic abilities that I was dealing with. But I knew I did a good job, and I knew people enjoyed my massage very much. Had a amazing job at Boulder's spa in Cave Creek, Arizona. Will never forget that experience. Beautiful, beautiful spa. And it got me paying my bills with actual cash instead of credit cards, which was very nice. If you've ever paid your rent with a credit card, you know you're not in a good place. And then so after massage school, ended up back in Nevada after a series of events, and opened up a massage practice while I worked at a spa up in Tahoe at Caesars. Grateful for them to have hired me so that I could get my own business going, and did very well. For a male massage therapist in a small town, did very well. So I was very happy with that. Yes, gender has to do with things. Everything has to do with things. It's part of life, right? And then I experienced Rolfing and decided, I want to be a Rolfer. This was a massive change in my life, but was still dealing with the physical aspects. I dabbled a little bit in chakras and would listen to chakra meditations and stuff like that, but would leave. Afterwards, I wouldn't be connected to my physical body, which made me feel very uncomfortable. And so I went to the Rolf Institute, and my first experience there was very physical, very methodical, mechanical. This is the program. Here's how you do it. And then my second one started touching in on this energetic aspect. So very grateful for Duffy for showing me that, because it started broadening my horizons very slightly. It was still a touch, and I was still a physical being, and that's where my ideas were. Even though during one of the classes, Shuey, one of our instructors, he told us about this guy, this Rolfer, who never touched anybody. He'd sit in the corner of the room and just stare at people, and people would get up and they'd feel better. I was like, oh, come on, no way. You got to get in there. You got to move that fascia. You got to get things balanced. Not realizing that in the next progression of my life, I would be that weird guy flicking his finger, looking at stuff, hearing things, and people feel better. But let's back up a little bit. So after I graduated Rolf Institute, 2008 happened, and I ended up having to shut down my business and work out of my home, and that was rough because I didn't realize how much energy I moved. And so it made living in our home difficult, because between my energy, my huge, enormous energy, and the energy dumped from my clients, and my wife's energy, and my soon-to-be daughter's energy coming in, it was tough. I very happy that we survived that, because you're basically living in pea soup all the time, because I didn't know how to clear that stuff. I didn't know what to do with it. It just was. We were surviving. And when our child was born, we knew, or right beforehand, we knew I wasn't going to be able to work in there, because it's not very much for my clients to hear a crying child. And so we opened up a shop without having any clientele or anything like that, and it was all meant to be, because 2 weeks after we opened up, I was booked out the door, still working on the physical level as a rolfer, and that was my go-to. Now, I had dabbled in a little bit in tapping, or emotional freedom technique, and was starting to bring that into the mix of the rolfing, which was nice, because as people released on the deeper levels subconsciously, we were able to get more work done physically. And then I experienced a neurokinetic therapy and started questioning my rolfing patterns, because neurokinetic therapy is a means of testing the physical body to see if it is neurologically connected properly. So you can test a muscle through muscle testing and see if it's working, if it's communicating effortlessly. And so when I started integrating that, I noticed we were getting a whole lot more work done with less effort, but unfortunately it was also, I think it was confusing the energy of the system, possibly, right? Because, like myself, I like to know what's coming up. And when we start putting shifts in that system, it confuses us, yeah? And then I experienced classes with breathing, restorative breathing, and started integrating the neurokinetic therapy with the breathing and the rolfing and the emotional freedom technique, and it got pretty weird and uncontrolled, and I still didn't understand what I was doing with my energy. My energy would blow up, especially when working on multiple clients a day who are physically, emotionally, spiritually imbalanced. I'm feeling all that, but I don't know that I'm feeling it, and now I'm beat. And then I experienced a technique called Voila, which is kind of like an energetic movement of the cranial bones, like cranial sacral therapy. But I don't think that I would have gotten as much out of that if I hadn't have done as much work as I had on myself beforehand, because I was more open to the possibility that we could move things energetically. Before, I was like, whatever. You got to get in there. You got to feel that movement. But now I was ready, and what that opened up for me was huge. But unfortunately, it really got weird, the work. So I ended up having to close down my shop for not having enough clients. Didn't know how to deal with that much energy. But luckily, I did have a few clients, and I had built myself a little shop in my backyard. And I was able to work on myself every single day in that little, I called it my cave, my support area. And I would go through and I would work on my meridians, my chakras, my nerves, my emotions, my bones, my physical body, and lock it all in through the cranials. And this was a 6-month process every single day. Not to mention all the concussions that I've sustained and tailbone injuries from being a snowboarder and trying to be up in the air and not belonging in the air. And so although that was a tough time, because I wasn't doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, I was actually doing what I was supposed to be doing, because my wife had taken off on her career and we needed a stay-at-home dad for our daughter. So it actually worked out very well, but I had a lot of work to do around the fact that my business had failed and I wasn't good enough and I didn't know what I was doing and blah, 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 right? So now I can say that without, getting stressed out about it. So we moved, ended up selling that house, and we moved to the house we're living in now. And I'm like, well, we got to build a place I can work out of. And my wife's like, I can't go through that again. It's too much. And so that was quite disappointing, but it was what it was. So stay-at-home dad, and decided to open up another shop. And my wife was on board, but still didn't understand this energetic stuff. So there was a lot of confusion around the work that I was offering. I went back, tried to offer massage, but discovered that touching people who were out of balance was detrimental to my health, because I would take on so much, not only on the physical level, but energetically going on. And I've actually had spots cut off of my elbows in the past that I believe were probably cancerous, but because I didn't have insurance or anything, just cut it out and I'll deal with it. And I believe it was because the energy would come up and just get locked up in that spot. Luckily it was there at my elbows, because they were the exact same spots on either side. Kind of ironic, right? And so that energy would just get blocked up, and I needed to have it cut out. So that was kind of an eye-opener, energy's getting blocked. So let's see. So recently, ended up having to close down that shop when all of this rigmarole hit with the virus that's going around. And dedicated stay-at-home dad, homeschool teacher for my daughter, which has worked very well, but it was very tough at the beginning, because I am very militaristic in how I do things, but I'm also can get frustrated really fast if, say for instance, my daughter doesn't get something real fast, I get frustrated. Or if I don't understand, I get frustrated. And frustration or sadness or disappointment all comes out as anger for me. So the beginning of homeschooling was very tough for both of us. It wasn't any fun. Whereas now it's getting fun, because I've dealt with so much of that. Now, if my daughter gets an answer wrong, it's okay, we discuss the answer. How can we make this better? Instead of, why aren't you getting this? That's not fair, right? And that was all an energetic thing ingrained within me that I had to take care of through the chakra work, meridian work, tapping, cranial work. Acknowledging the imbalance was huge. You've got to acknowledge the imbalance. And I was still stuck on that energetic level. Energy's too big, feeling too much stuff, overwhelming, and I didn't know what was going on. So my wife came home one day and said, hey, I'm going to take some classes with this guy I went to school with. He came out and he's teaching people how to be a witch. And my old ego came up to the surface and got all pissy and, why do you need to go see somebody? I can teach you everything you know. But I shut up. I wasn't saying that. I was saying that inside. But I shut up, and when I stepped back and just felt what was going on, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be amazing for you, because my wife's got amazing ability. She can go and talk to spirits. It's really freaking cool. So I had done a couple sessions with an old healer that I'd worked with before, and he had told me I'm too open here. I'm taking in too much. And he closed that for me, and I had to do a lot of work around that, because it didn't make sense at the time. But I did notice that the skin on my head didn't hurt anymore. It's a little sore right now, actually. I need to take care of some stuff. But everything was closed down, and I wasn't receiving so much information. So I ended up taking a class with this guy. His name is Ali Cardinale, and I will be putting his information below in the title if you'd like to work with him. And if you're an empath, or you feel, or you'd like to understand your abilities better, this will be a great way to do it. Some of the things that I've learned is how to dial down how much information I receive. Now, this is a constant practice all the time, integrating with everything else that I've learned so that I can take it into my nervous system and better understand it. So dialing down the information that I'm taking in. Practicing they call them your clairs, your tendency to, your hearing ability, your seeing ability, your feeling, your touch abilities, your pre and post cognizant abilities. He can help you connect with your strong ones, but also help you understand your strong ones, but also help you start manifesting your, I don't say weaker, but for lack of better words, your weaker ones. Acknowledging how much energy I was putting out. I always knew I had before, and I would actually turn people down. I had did a demo or something it wasn't a demo. I was at a gym, and she asked, well, do you ever do classes? I'd love to have you here. And I told her I can't do that right now because I can't control my energy, and it'll destroy people who aren't actually in the class. Which is a bummer to say. I mean, I love doing this work, but you have to acknowledge when something's out of your abilities, even controlling your energy or controlling how much energy is coming in, which in turn makes your energy even bigger. You gotta step back and say, no, I can't do that. So I believe we all have these abilities. You've walked into a grocery store before and all of a sudden didn't feel good, right? You might be taking on something, whether it be the entire store, a person you just walked by, the cart that a person who wasn't having a good day was holding on to. Don't know. We have the ability to make more efficient decisions for ourselves. For instance, I use muscle testing, right, a lot. It helps me get better connected to what's going on. But as I practice these tools more and more, I don't need to focus on or need to rely upon the muscle testing so much. But it still helps me. I'm not throwing away my tools. I'm just packing them in my toolbox and I use them when I need them. And so, like in yoga, right? We're taught to flow and do both sides equally, or even in weightlifting or Pilates or whatever. But we're not naturally lined up. Or if we've had an injury in one side of our body and not on the other, and we do things equally on both sides, is it possible that we're keeping that misalignment even though we're trying to bring alignment? So I actually use muscle testing or these empathic, spiritual, psychic abilities to know exactly what I need to do in order to bring myself into alignment. It might be warrior 1 on one side, warrior 2 on the other side, and then go over and throw some weight on my back and do some squats, and then go over and do it again. It might be tree pose and then warrior 1. Who knows? Every single day is different because every single day we have different experiences that bring misalignments into our system. So my goal with this work is to help you understand better where your misalignments are, help you heal them, and give you the tools that you need in order to continue your own healing process. Because I'm not a very good handholder. I'm not one to say, hey, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this. It's, you're here for a reason. These are the tools that you need, and now go out there and use those tools for a while. Come back if and when you need me. You might not ever see me again. You might find another person who can give you some different tools. You might find a book. You might have something to come across your Instagram where it tells you exactly what you needed to hear that day in order to make your next step. Excuse me. So, in a nutshell, that's where my abilities came from. I was born with them. But it took a long time, well, a long time relatively, but more so knowledge and turning that knowledge into self-wisdom. Experiencing life, right? Experiencing what somebody who has gone through a concussion or traumatic brain injury might experience. Now, while it didn't put me in the hospital, I was headed down that path of emotional outbursts and needing to puke if I turned around one time too fast. Something bumped me in the head and I'd be out of my mind for a week, just miserable. And grateful I've learned how to heal that so that now I can go out there on my daughter's trampoline with her and learn how to do a front flip. And I've never done a front flip before. Now I'm 49 years old this year. It's great. And integrating these tools into learning how to get that into my system so that I can do it and be stoked. So I hope I answered that question. I don't have anything else to say except for, hey, subscribe, and I do readings once a week for sure, sometimes more. Give you the tools that you need in order to heal yourself, and also do healing from where I'm sitting for you. You can watch these videos at any time and take the work and begin your own healing process. Begin your own journey. Ask yourself questions, or ask your guides or spirit or God or your cat questions. What would be the best thing for me today in order to improve my life? And if you're happy where you're at, awesome. So subscribe, check out my website, kimmcindart.com, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.